Welcome to Retrograde, the show where we get insane in the membrane. This is episode number 34, and today we're discussing the PC title Doom. My name is Jack Marshall, I'm joined today by Anthony Hobday. Hello. Lizanne Fisher.
Hi.
And James McFadden.
Hi.
Whee!
I'm a little bit disappointed that now that we're in winter-ish, the seagulls aren't joining in with the podcast.
No.
Because I wanted to ask them what they thought.
The fifth member of the podcast.
Because last time we were here, we had a lot of input from them.
Yeah, I mean,
That's true.
window is open though, so the floor is there for any seagulls to make that point heard.
We can ask them, like, hey, what do you think? It's like insightful.
It is dusk outside, so they're probably all
Do
nesting
you know
now.
where they all are? Where I should be right now, playing Grand Theft Auto 5. If I'm here doing this podcast with you.
How are they pressing? How are they moving the analog sticks, Jack?
1 foot on each stick.
You know what? How do they rip open bins? How do they rip open a tub of coleslaw?
1 foot on each bin, pecking them open.
Oh, okay, right. You've mastered
Fly
it.
off.
You've mastered
Determination, I think.
Why didn't we do Grand Theft Auto for this episode? By the
Sure,
way,
I'm up for
I
that.
chose Doom. Yeah, should we just change the whole episode and do Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah, why not?
I was going to make a joke on saying they could play co-operatively, but try to say like cooperatively, but I couldn't think of a good coop. I couldn't do it.
Also, they don't live in
That
coops. Pigeons live in coops because that's what we
Do
make
they?
for them. I think it's an artificial.
no, chickens live in coops. Pigeons don't live in coops. Pigeons live in pigeon boxes. The cat's jumping up
Oh,
there.
she's going mental. James's cat is named after Ellie from The Last of Us.
Yeah. Well, Ellie from The Last of Us is actually named after my cat.
I can see the likeness.
We have also a little shout out to the Codex Club at the St Mary's Academy CBS school in Carlo Island. Apparently there's a school and they have this like a retro club every week and they play our game that we do each week.
Oh, and listen
shout out.
along.
That's right, we're doing shout outs now.
Well, congratulations to you guys.
Yeah.
How famous are you?
Anyone want to shout out to their mum or their parents or anything like that?
Hi, Mum.
No, my family don't listen. No, my brother does. What's up?
You call my mum deaf.
Ellie, away from the microphone. Right, there's a cat on the mic,
She's got something to say.
but she's really pretty. She's so soft.
Cat grade.
Cat grade. It's funny, I think it's because cats can pick up electrical signals, apparently.
She is
What
really
is she enhancing the
She's
signal?
thinking, what is going on here?
I'm getting stuff all over the place here. These wires are...
Alright, okay, I'm gonna look
Okay, this isn't good radio because we're just talking. But what? There's a school. There's a school in
Yeah, in
Ireland
Carlo.
who every week.
They're called a Codex Club at St Mary's Academy. I think their teacher got in touch with me and said, they listen to the show each week. So I said I'd give them a little shout out. It was meant to be a little shout.
quite a large shout.
Yeah, this was meant to be a little shout
This
out.
is
But
taking
now
several
this is
minutes.
quite.
Yeah, this is
Well,
awesome.
no, it's
Well,
awesome.
as a teacher, I think it's absolutely brilliant that the kids are being educated in retro gaming.
As a teacher, you have the ability to do that, surely.
Yeah.
Do you have is there like a forum? Like, do you have people at the start of the day, sort of, and then you teach your classes?
Yeah.
Well, in the forum, instead of doing whatever the head honchos want you to do, you could just play snippets from the.
I
from the
wish. I wish.
Myself, as a former student, I fully support their activity. Listening to gaming podcasts at
You're being
school.
sarcastic, but code schools I think are fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Like coding should be not compulsory, but it should be really encouraged.
Yeah,
in soft
I
skills,
totally
in
agree
my
nowadays.
opinion.
No, it's now on the national curriculum.
Is it really?
Yeah, they've changed ICT, so it's no longer this is how you use Microsoft Word, this is how you use Publisher. It's now this is how you program a video game, this is how you program an app, this is how you code in this language, this is how you
Are
code
you
in this
saying
language.
We're going to have a
They've
generation
changed
of
it all.
kids that can't use PowerPoint because that's not a future.
They can't use
I wanna live in.
PowerPoint as it is.
Oh, that's not a future I want to live in.
Presentations
I
are
need
just
to
never
see.
going to happen.
I love my
Ever
meetings.
again.
I need to waste as much time as I can. Who wants to share what they've been up to this week? What's been going on? Anything interesting?
I will.
Yeah, sure.
Oh.
I have nearly finished week 6 of Couch to 5k, which means that when we record the next show, I will have run my very first 5k.
Oh, well done.
So what am I going to do after I finish that app? I hear you cry. I'm glad you've asked, guys. I was looking into it
Why did you shift your body position?
because I was settling in to tell you a tale. And you rip me off, James. Stop mimicking me. So I looked at what other apps this company offer. They do a 10k or the 5k forever, which improves your 5k time. And what I've noticed is now that I'm running for more prolonged periods, I'm getting quite bored just listening to music and running along. It's not that interesting. I enjoy the sense of achievement when I finish running, but I need more entertainment as I'm going. So I was talking to Neil about this, and he suddenly said, well, why don't you get Zombies Run? And I said, what's that?
Great.
And it's an app where you pretend you're in a zombie apocalypse, and then you go on missions to get stuff, and those missions are your runs. And then as you're running, like, you get zombies creeping up behind you. You get the sound effects in your earphones, and you have to run quicker to get away from the zombies and stuff. And apparently it's this whole epic story there's 33 episodes in the first series, and then there's another 10 in the second series, and they keep releasing more and more stories, and it all builds up, and you have to collect supplies, and it's a game as well. When you get home from your run, you then sit and play the game with all the things you've just been out and collected on your run.
That's kind of like that's the start of augmented reality. Like,
I
when
know.
you look at the future, this is where it begins.
I know,
It's
and
really
what's going to
cool.
be brilliant is that by the time I'm ready to start doing those runs, it's going to be nighttime when I go out running on the seafront.
You're not going to be really scared.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. I'm really excited.
I use a running app that's not as complex as that, but basically it says people will post their runs and you can see it on a map, and you basically got to try to beat them. So someone will make
that's
a race,
quite
and
good.
basically it's just like a high score
cool.
things of who can do the Twitch run.
If you lived near Usain Bolt and he was using the same app, you would be so annoyed. Always top of the leaderboards. It's like, I cannot beat this guy.
Well,
You
don't-
who is that?
You don't find out who it is. So
Yeah, who's this
this
UB?
really fast. It could be a guy in a taxi for all I
Who's this
know.
U Bolt
Saying,
character? I
"Ah,
can't.
Go taxi, go.
But yeah, so I'm really proud of the fact that I've nearly finished Couch to 5K, and
That's
I'm
awesome.
looking forward to doing Zombie Run.
It's a
That's
shame.
gonna be awesome.
It's a shame that you help us make Retrograde, because otherwise you could listen to that on your runs. But you already know what's in the episodes because you.
You could listen
Yeah,
to
no,
the
but I
old
listen to it
ones
back
that you've
anyway.
forgotten. I mean, the Mario Kart. What the hell is that?
Yeah, I know,
Do that
right?
one.
Oh, I listened to
It's
the
a terrible
Pokemon episode the other day. It came on random in my car when I was driving to work. On my phone, the Pokemon just came on episode, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is really weird."
Such amateurs as well. Back then.
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
if we still thought it was just fantastic, we wouldn't be improving. I'm assuming we're improving. I hope we are.
Oh yeah, listen.
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
That's for the
Super-
listeners to decide.
Listen to the Super Mario Kart version. It's like my voice hasn't broken.
You can just blame that on sound
I
quality.
swear listening to that and it was all right. Like it
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad. No, it wasn't that bad. Actually.
No, but I remember
could
when we
hear the
first recorded
nerves.
it, and then we were all listening to it back, and we were all gushing all over each other about how amazing it
I
was.
shouldn't have said that bit there. I should have done that. Now it's just we just record it and just whack it on and go there you go.
Nowadays we barely gush at all.
Yeah. Anthony, what have you been up to?
Not much.
Not much. Not playing anything interesting.
Didn't you go to Sussex Uni and do something interesting the other day?
What did you do with the students?
Don't think so.
Doesn't want to talk about
Doesn't want to talk about it.
Let's keep my personal life
You don't want to
separate.
talk about it?
Separate
Yeah,
from
she
your
doesn't.
personal.
Is that because you're worried about people turning up?
I'll have to edit this bit out. 'Cause he doesn't want to talk about it.
Oh, that's weird. That's
No, I
Should
went
we
to
talk about it
Sussex.
for him?
I went to Sussex University campus, not for a university thing, but there's people up there who play Capture the Flag and other urban games. Didn't know urban gaming was a thing. But
What other
apparently it
urban
is.
games are possible?
Like Assassin, have you heard of that? Assassins, rather?
I've heard of Assassins.
Pac-Man.
Not the Pac-Man, yes. Yeah,
it's,
I know Pac-Man. They're
it's an urban game that people play sometimes over really long periods of time,
Wii Sports, but you just basically do normal sports.
Yeah.
where you...
It's like parkour mixed with knife fights.
No. You're basically... You get like improvised weapons that don't really kill people, obviously, because that would be a really bad game. But you're basically tasked with assassinating each other, but you have to be really sneaky about it. So you gotta like hide in a place that you know they'll be,
Oh, I see.
and then pop out and like
Oh, that
shoot
sounds
them.
cool.
Air quotes.
I heard of that game, but I also heard that your target, you don't know them. Like I remember there was one where you
Yeah,
signed
I've
up
heard
to a
of that
website
one.
and you were just given a random person. And
Well,
you had
that's
to
usually-
hit them
Yeah.
with like a dart or something, not like a dart, like
Poison dart.
a nerve pill or something. And it was really scary because you didn't know the person who was
Yeah,
coming
that
after
sounds
you.
awesome.
So,
You know, there are
could-
games of assassins that like are huge across the whole city, and it's amongst thousands of people. And there's some games that have been lasting, like 10 years or whatever. But obviously, there's smaller scale as well. Just that sort of games.
We did a variation on that at uni where everyone signed up, and then you got randomly assigned a person, a location, and an item. And then you had to get that person in that location and tap them with that item in order to kill them.
Like
And then
Cluedo.
you then got their
That
kill,
reminds
and then
me-
it was going down until the last two.
Yeah.
That was really good
That
fun.
reminds me of the source mod turned actual game, The Ship. It was quite a
Yeah.
solid hit. It
It's
was
a
really
great
good.
game, Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of principle. But Capture the Flag was really fun. Enjoyed it. And
Cool.
I wouldn't mind actually giving it a try someday.
You're too old.
I wouldn't get around very well. James, what have you been up? Oh,
no, I was going to say you're only 2 years older than me, maybe 3. So
I look a lot older though. James, what have you been up to?
Well, we had an exciting week actually. This kind of ties in with Lisanne's week a little bit. Do you mind if I'm stealing your thunder?
Oh yeah,
here?
I forgot to talk about it. Yeah, you go for
You
it.
can leap in here. Thanks
You lead,
to
right?
I actually don't know how to pronounce the name. Keita.
Keita.
Thanks to wonderful Keita in the Reddit group on Facebook. Charlotte and I got tickets to go and see a Charlie Brooker Black Mirror screening at the Duke of York Cinema here. It was a couple of episodes shown and then a Q&A with the man himself.
But it wasn't new episodes.
No, it was old
No,
episodes, but it was
old
just kind of like
episodes.
it was A for the sort of experience of seeing them in the cinema, and B because Charlie Brooker's going to be there.
Yeah.
And so
Neil
we-
and I were there with James and Charlotte.
We only got there because Lisanne tagged us in a Facebook post half an hour after she tagged everyone else.
That's because I knew, because I'd spoken to Laura and Frank and Lauren about it, and they were all really jealous.
Oh well, hey, they didn't get to go in the end, did they?
No, they didn't. You won.
So we went and it was good. And I spoke to Charlie Brooker. I asked him a question.
You did. He asked him a question. It was awesome. I was sitting right next to James, bright red, because Charlie Brooker was looking at us. No, James was cool. James, because he was given a mic. James's experience on the podcast with the mic obviously shone through because he wasn't nervous at all.
I didn't try to.
Did you mention the podcast?
No, I didn't.
James, co-host of Retrograde.
If I had a badge on me, I might have thrown it in his direction. But no, I asked him about narrative in games and just sort of what he thought. Whether he'd ever write for them.
In the audience, in the Q&A bit.
Yeah, I had Mike and asked
we were
him.
second row, man.
I think it was something. It was very pseudo-intellectual. It was like, so Charlie, if you had to, no, what was it? It was like, do you think that games have similar narrative effect as television and films? And would you ever consider writing for them? And he just sort of.
It was very good.
Cool.
Did he go no because television is bigger than?
No, he said he thought of it.
He said they were pretty much on par. Yeah, so
they gave you a microphone.
Yeah.
Jack brings his own.
Yeah.
And he said The Last of Us was incredible.
Yeah, he likes The Last of Us. Funny that.
That's a good game. Yeah. I'm not the one who disagreed with you. You guys, funny that. I haven't played it yet. I still need to play it.
You haven't gushed enough about it.
I haven't gushed enough about it.
And then afterwards,
you got a picture with him.
I got a picture with him.
Yeah.
We had to be a bit stalky. And Neil doesn't mind doing that kind of thing. I get a bit embarrassed.
I remember that.
And we were quite stalky. And I kept going, no, it's all right, Neil. No, we'll go. And then Neil's like, no, this is your only opportunity to do it, Lasagna. We're going. And I was like, okay. And I was really glad he did. Because we were just about to go over, and then James tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "We're going to go." I was like, "Okay, bye." And then went over, and then Neil got Charlie Brooker's attention, and then said, "Oh, am I having a picture?" And then they had a chat about Blackout that was on last week, which I don't know if you saw. That was very good. And they were chatting about that, and I was just standing there like, oh my god, my boyfriend's talking to Charlie Brooker.
Do we need to say who Charlie Brooker is?
No,
everyone knows. If they don't know, they're weird.
I knew him before he was famous because he used to be a writer for PC Gamer, and I always liked his reviews.
PC Zone,
yeah,
not PC Gamer, Jack.
PC Gamer.
And he helped on Brass Eye, The Day Today.
Yeah.
He wrote Black Mirrors. He wrote Dead Set. He married a Blue Peter presenter.
Actually, the best thing Charlie Brooker's done, Touch of Cloth. Absolutely,
yeah, Touch of Cloth's fantastic. And he's married to Connie Huck for Blue Peter.
Yeah, not the dog.
Charlie Grade.
She co-wrote 15 Million Merits as well.
Oh, really?
That's cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Anyone else got anything they would like to share?
Well, yeah, I think we need to do the
about Charlie Brooker. No.
The obligatory GTA 5 is
out. I've had about 20 minutes to play it, and it's already fantastic.
Are you playing it on the Xbox?
Yeah.
Have you installed both discs?
I only installed one. I installed the install disc.
Yeah.
Apparently, if you install a play disc, your eyes will fall out.
Yeah.
And you'll die.
Why?
Your mother will die.
It's been all over the internet.
Like,
do not install the play disc. And also the
why?
The term,
laggy or something.
The term misogyny as well, because apparently the game is meant to be horrifically
it is actually
sexist.
I
agree.
I never agree with this usually, but it is quite like the first few female characters you meet, they are all very negative.
Yeah, it's
types.
not good. Even on the disc, the first disc got a woman in a bikini, and the second one's got a woman being arrested by a female cop.
Yeah.
And I was like,
wait, are you guys trying to say that games are skewed towards men?
But men don't want that. That's not skewed towards men. That's just against women. That's not really the same thing.
But
they're kicking a big stink up about it. Well, not big stink up about it. People getting very angry about it, which is fair enough. I haven't played it yet, so I can't. I think there's a lot of people commenting on it who haven't played the game yet. So it's
that's also
you've got to play the game first.
But it's fantastic. I played a few hours. Went to the midnight opening, which was insane, and I'm never going to do it.
I can't believe I've only been to one midnight opening, and I said I'd never go again.
The last one I was at was the PSP launch, which was actually really busy. That was good because that was the future of handheld gaming. That was awesome. The GTA 5 one was so dull, though. There were about 700 people packed into Churchill Square.
How did that work out, the future of handheld gaming?
It actually did not.
It evolved into the 3DS XL.
I went to the...
I've pre-ordered the special Pokemon one for X and Y.
And you'll be there at the midnight launch with James, who's now obsessed.
My friend is a manager of game. He's hooking me up.
I went to the midnight launch of Halo 2, and I remember people were really panicking because somebody in the queue started a rumour they didn't have enough copies.
Oh, God.
So I had to get a guy on a megaphone in the middle of this Portsmouth it was at 12 o'clock going, please don't push, you're all gonna get a copy. And the first thing was I got it, went to bed, then woke up at 10 o'clock and started playing. I was like, I could have just gone there at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we felt that way as well.
The saddest thing I ever done though, and I went, I'm never doing this again, was when Bioshock 2 was coming out. Did any of you guys ever hear about this? When they're down on Brighton Beach, they said at sunrise, there was this subliminal message went out to people in the 2K subscribers. It said, at sunrise, something will happen at the following, what's it called? Ordnance survey coordinates.
GPS?
Yeah, GPS coordinates. And one of them was on Brighton Beach. So we all went down there
wow.
at 6 o'clock in the morning,
What happened?
waiting for the sunrise. I was expecting a big daddy to come out the sea or something like that. I was expecting something incredible, rapture to rise from the waters. And they got the GPS coordinates wrong by about 100 foot. It turns out they were up at the old dock. They just put loads of bottles of Rapture wine bottles that had limited edition posters in them, which was pretty
That
crap.
sucks.
Apart from the fact that people were selling on eBay for like 80 quid. So we were standing there, sunrise had come up, still standing there for an hour, going, should something have happened by now? Looking like a right bunch of weirdos on the beach on a Saturday morning. And this little boy walks up who's about 11 years old with about 9 or 10 of these bottles in his arms. And one guy just goes, that boy's got Parashok bottles. And this kid went, yeah, they're down there. And all these people started pegging it. I go with my mate and go, let's jump in your car for some reason. So we drive about 30 seconds, end up getting stuck in traffic, didn't make it in time. And luckily I managed to get one bottle, which, God, his story keeps going, sorry. So it's one bottle, no, I got 2 bottles. I sold one on eBay to a guy. He said he never received it, and because I sent it standard delivery, I got screwed over of 90 quid.
Oh, no.
Checked, I also gave him a copy of the game with it, checked his Xbox Live tag, and he was playing the game the same morning that he said he didn't get it from me. Couldn't do nothing, had to
Why
get his money
did?
back.
Why you had proof?
No, eBay, because I sent it raw delivery, mail, like raw mail. And I was like, yeah, but I've got his Xbox Live profile and that doesn't prove anything. And I was like, oh, okay. Had to give him back 90 quid.
Jesus Christ.
And I sent him an email saying, I will give you your money back. And I put, but I just want you to know, if you did receive this and you did get it and you're saying you didn't, I just want you to know that you've done that and it's not a nice thing to do. I thought, that's all I need to do. And that was it.
You made
Which I
him
thought-
think. You
I
made him
feel
think,
bad.
Jack.
I made him feel bad. He deserves to get run over. Anyway, we should talk about Doom. So let's have a brief blurb on the game from our guest
Whoa.
speaker. Oh.
A brief
oh, no,
blurb?
Sorry. Oh,
Paul
dear.
Monahan giveaway.
We've got to do the Paul Monahan giveaway. That's what people are listening for. It's when they will turn off once we've done this bit.
Yeah.
Go on, Anthony.
This episode's Paul Monahan giveaway. We're giving away a grid from the last episode in honour of the fact that was on GT3.
Cat's just jumped on the table. Don't
That was so
worry.
sudden.
Hello,
'Cause
Emily.
the last episode was Gran Turismo, so we decided to give away a grid for this episode. And the winner is Gerard McCoy. So, Gerard McCoy, you are the next Paul Monahan. And we will be contacting you on Twitter. Now, the next episode, given that we're doing Doom today, in honour of that, the next episode we're going to be giving away Rage, which is id's latest first-person shooter, and on Steam for the PC. And if you want to enter, we will be tweeting to Twitter. There'll be a competition tweet. You retweet that, the instructions will be in there. You'll be entering the competition. We'll announce next time.
Boom.
Okay.
Yeah. Well done to Gerard McCoy.
Yeah, the next Paul Monahan.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, so let's talk about Doom. We've got, as I was saying, we've got a guest speaker to introduce the game. His name's Julian Hill. He's the author of the blog Boxed Pixels.
Doom is a 1993 science fiction horror-themed first-person shooter video game by ID Software. In Doom, players assume the role of a space marine, fighting their way through hordes of invading demons from hell. Doom was praised by reviewers and is widely known as one of the most important video games of all time for having popularised the first-person shooter genre. Pioneering immersive 3D graphics, network multiplayer gaming, and support for customised additions and modifications. Its graphics and interactive violence, however, as well as its satanic imagery, have also made it the subject of considerable controversy in the mainstream media. Originally released for PC-DOS, Doom has been ported to numerous other platforms. Once the game's source code was released in 1997, it spawned even more adaptations, as fans further ported the code to countless devices. Doom is considered one of the most significant and influential titles in the video game industry, for kicking into gear a whole new genre of gaming, but is still one of the lead genres in the games industry to date. I'm looking forward to you getting knee-deep in a debate. Just see what I did there? Knee-deep, like knee-deep in the dead, but with debate. Anyway, Doom.
Thanks for that, Julian. And you can visit Julian's awesome blog, Boxed Pixels, over at www.boxedpixels.blogspot.co.uk. And he's also got a post up about Doom, which is what we're doing about this week, obviously.
I really like that.
Oh wait, we're doing Doom this week?
And this is what's quite cool. So I've just been talking about June, who's expecting a kid in the next couple of weeks, which I thought it was like, oh...
June? Who?
Julian.
Oh,
Hill,
okay.
he's expecting his a child. But I just happened to look him up on Google. He's the guy, I don't know if you remember, about a year ago, he's the guy who did the 24-hour SingStar marathon and raised like $5,000 for like $3-4 for Great Ormond Street Hospital. Do you remember
Nice.
that? He did 24 hours SingStar marathon. And he raised quite a lot of money.
That's nice.
I was really pleased. I said to him, is that
Quite a
you?
feat.
I said, is this you? And he was like, yeah, I did that. And I was like, oh man, I remember reading about you on Eurogamer. I was well impressed.
I want to say I really like that voiceover as well. It's
fantastic. You've done a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just remember, if you're enjoying this episode, you should head over to iTunes right now and pop down a review for us, and you can follow us on Twitter at Retrograde Show. Yay.
Yes.
Doom. I chose it because it's absolutely fantastic. And
jumping right in there with the bias.
So a little change of the way we do things, but let's just talk generally about the game instead of just reviewing it like we do. Let's talk about gameplay.
Devoid of gameplay.
I think it's aged really well.
I think
fantastic.
James likes it. It sounds like James really likes it.
Lizanne might get angry to know that me, James, and Anthony had a little bit of co-op over the weekend.
Oh, really? I couldn't tell from all the posts you made on Facebook. Loving each other about
Keep
it.
it secret. It's a boys' only club.
Oh, misogyny in gaming. Who'd have thought?
But we had so much fun, didn't we?
Yeah, not really.
James actually did have fun, but he begrudgingly had fun.
Yeah, despite the game.
But I think we've discussed this enough. If you have a game that's not very good to start with, like Mickey Mouse in World Evolution? Yeah, you put co-op in, it makes it more fun despite the fact that it's not a very fun game to start with.
I mean, the deathmatch, I couldn't get behind that. The controls don't work for something like deathmatch.
That's what
but the co-op...
We were kicking your ass, weren't we?
You don't include yourself with Anthony in this one, come on.
I'm not even sure what the score was at the end because you couldn't really tell.
It's
such an old game that there's no scoreboard.
Transcended the need for numbers.
No, I mean, there's no scoreboard in a game like Doom that I can tell because we were playing the original, style of it, so we didn't have a scoreboard and tab or something. We had a map on tab. Yeah. So I'm not sure who won that one, but we did play co-op, and the gameplay, I think, at one point, James, you said it was floaty.
Did I?
Yeah, the movement and everything.
Yeah, it's very floaty.
And I agree with you that it's floaty, but I think
slide a bit.
It doesn't feel like you're actually taking steps.
No,
it's like you're gliding.
Yeah, it's like you're a hovercraft basically. But given that, compared to now, right, there are games now where you play first person and it feels like you're taking steps because it puts in things like weapon sway, and you hear the footstep sounds and they're really impressively recorded and whatever. But I think that you have to remember that this was basically the first of its kind because this had a lot more movement freedom than Wolfenstein did.
I preferred this floaty style of movement to other first-person shooters you've made me play because it was just a lot easier to control.
Yeah?
So much easier to control.
Because that's like the opposite of what James was saying, that it's...
I think it's
I found it easy to control, but it was clumsy in the way that it was executed. Like you're always walking into walls, you're always looking in the wrong direction. It's clumsy like that, but the actual motion I preferred.
I think it's because the Doom guy is drunk through the entire game. That's why he's bumping into stuff. He can't walk properly.
So am I going to be playing the Defender of Doom?
No, I love Doom.
Because I controlled it, fantastic. I was killing it.
For the record, no, I don't...
punching people, I was going, come on Doom guy, let's do this! And I was going mental.
Just shouting at your computer.
Yeah.
Those imps... I don't know what Neil was talking about. He was talking about imps at first, and then eventually I said, hang on, you mean the Chewies? He said, what? I said, the things that look like Chewbacca that are shooting fire at me. And he was like, yeah, those are imps. I was like, no, I think you'll find they're from Star Wars.
What's an imp? What's an imp in your world, sorry?
An imp is a tiny little green creature.
Yeah, they are small goblins.
It's a small goblin creature. Not a giant brown thing with a black sash on that looks like Chewie from Star Wars. They may as well
have called them elves, to be honest, for all the likeness they have.
Yeah.
Tall as elves, at least.
Yeah.
But both can't shoot fire, so there's no point in...
Well, some magic elves can.
But that was so good when it was like... maybe again back in the day because they fire the fire things and they're slow enough that you can dodge them and duck them out of the way. Like not only was it like a first-person shooter, and the first one that kind of really did it, apart from Wolfenstein and other few games did it properly. It was also the fact that you're having to dodge bullets. You're like, this is incredible. I'm so engrossed in this game.
Well, before I get into that,
that was quite slow, so it was quite easy to dodge them all.
Yeah,
and stuff.
It was. But before I get into that, because I have a point about that, you were saying that are you going to be the Defender of Doom?
Yep.
And I just want to make it clear that I loved it. I still do. But I was just saying that I agree with James that it's like the controls are very floaty. It's just never bothered me in that way because that's just how I know Doom controls.
I mean, I guess it's fair to say that there have been loads of mods, and probably the most routinely added thing is like mouse support. Just general changing of buttons.
I think the original might have had mouse support in things like Final Doom.
It didn't even use WASD. It used arrow keys, which is like unheard of by today's standards.
Yeah, the movement, it completely feels like the proto FPS. It feels like they've come up with some ideas, they've put them down. It hasn't really worked very well, but hey, they've been innovating. So everyone.
You've got to remember, for a long time after this, games that were in first-person shooters were called Doom clones. It wasn't until about another 5 years when they went, we can't keep calling these Doom clones. We have to call them first-person shooters now because it's become a genre now. It's not a Doom clone anymore.
Yeah, well, that's what happened with MOBAs and things.
Yeah, true.
But like Defense of the Ancients, and then it was Dota clones and maybe
Yeah, yeah.
But they've been trying to figure out a genre name for that, and action RTS nearly took off.
But then MOBA did.
Yeah, and then fizzled. But no, I was going to say about the dodging projectiles, because I tried to find it for this episode and I could not. But I remember reading this discussion of the gameplay of Doom, which is why it fits in this section. And it was basically saying that Doom is essentially a first-person twin-stick shooter. And you know, like, you move with one stick like a spaceship and shoot in all directions of another one. And because a lot of the projectiles are slow-moving, I think the controls are floaty because that means dodging them is slightly harder because you haven't got very precise control over your guy. And it basically becomes a twin-stick shooter where you're dodging projectiles and shooting back at them. And I like that analogy because if you did it top-down, it would basically just be... Well, think of a twin-stick top-down shooter.
Geometry Wars.
Geometry Wars is a good one. Any of those ones that you do... Like, they're still like Doom, but they're top-down instead. Like, there's like things like Zombie Shooter and Alien Shooter in the indie scene, but I can't think of any famous ones right now. Alien Swarm. That was released on Steam. I'll go for free. Good game.
Yeah.
But Doom is like those, but first person. I like that analogy because it kind of stops you from thinking of it like you do the other first person shooters.
The sort of the sweet spot with those top down ones is that you have such a wide field of view, and you have such. I mean, you can shoot in any direction so quickly, instantly. I mean, you can react to any direction instantly. Like you don't have to turn really slowly and like wrestle with the control. So it doesn't really.
But I mean, there's a lot more.
Illustrates why it doesn't work.
There's a lot more enemies in those games. Because there is a lot more to react to.
True.
And I think especially on the lowest difficulty,
the
Doom
whole
is...
point of Doom was because it was in first-person perspective, it treats you like you're looking from a first-person perspective. You're not going to know if something's behind you.
No.
Because that's the whole idea of it being in first-person
so I think
perspective.
In that case, if they made it a twin-stick shooter, it would be easier than things like Geometry Wars, because there's obviously a lot less to dodge. But I like that analogy because it explains the gameplay, and it also explains why you move around quite floatily, even though that might not have been their intention. Because it makes it harder to dodge these projectiles. And if you have very precise control, that would probably be even easier.
Yeah.
But I can't tell if they actually planned that from the start. It's just retroactive.
Most of the game seems quite unplanned to me.
Well, I've read the book again, and I have to always bring back to this book again, because we did it for Quake. It's called Masters of Doom by David Kushner, and it talks a lot about development. And in a way, you are right. There was a lot of stuff, like Carmack locked himself away for a lot of months during development of Doom to get a lot of stuff handed out. And there was times... Like there was a guy who, I can't remember his first name, his surname was Hall, and he wrote a Doom Bible where he basically got sick of waiting around because no one was writing design documents for Doom. But he went, I'm going to make my own design document and just give it to him. And they all sat there and read it and went, no, we're not going to do this. And he ended up just handing his notes in. He went away to Apogee Software, I think, and did Rise of the Triads. And that's why a lot of the characters that are in his Doom Bible end up in Rise of the Triads. But they still, development was very pick and mix, that they were just picking bits in and out and trying to do what they could.
Weren't id originally part of Apogee? Because they released Commander Keen under their Apogee label. I don't know if they worked for them and then split, or they were like a subsidy.
They were working on, I think, either Wolfenstein or Doom, like in the evenings, by borrowing their computers and bringing them back in the morning while they were doing Doom. So yeah, the development was very kind of...
Borrowing a computer in those days was hard.
Yeah, exactly.
You had to get like a moving truck to back into the office.
But and I was wanting to check which year it was released. It was released in 1993. And the only thing I was going to say about Doom, bearing in mind that 1993, like... First of all, it's getting very violent, and the fact that in 1993, I mean, the SNES had just come out, I think. So, like, people were playing things like Super Mario World, and like this was before PlayStation, before Saturn, before like cool games. So when you had a game, I mean, there were violent games at the time, but they weren't, that popular. So when you had a game where you're shooting imps in hell, it was like, wow, this is insane.
That's so 90s, though. Oh yeah, there's kind of Mars. There's a Mars base. We're gonna go to hell. Yeah, badass army dude with a shotgun gonna shoot their heads off.
Yeah, but back then that was mind blowing.
Was that nine? I mean, that was the start of the 90s. So
90s. For a video game, that was mind blowing back then, because.
Literally.
Well, there was so much. There was so much stuff when I was playing with Anti-Santo. There's so much stuff that Doom did first. Loads.
Oh yeah, no, it was huge. It was groundbreaking. Doesn't mean it's a good game.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can break new ground without. You can't. I don't think you can break new ground without easily, like, avoiding retroactive. What we're doing, basically. You can't like.
That was terrible.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking as I'm going, but.
Clearly.
If you're breaking new ground in so many different ways, like graphics and gameplay and violence levels and all that stuff, then you're obviously going to do a lot of things that later on will look bad because you had to think. You had to think of them all yourself, and they already had Wolfenstein to go on, but that wasn't as fluid. And like the doors weren't even real doors; they were still like blocks, so you couldn't actually walk up to them and stuff. So Doom did a lot that they had to basically make up.
I disagree, because I think that's where the element of nostalgia comes in. Like if I watch something like The Matrix now, because it did a lot of stuff revolutionary at the time when it was doing it. Or like Terminator 2 with its graphics, they still look fine to me now.
Yeah, but
because
there's
I
a
get the
difference there
nostalgia
because
element.
The Matrix is actually an inherently good film, whereas Doom is not an inherently good
Well,
game.
Yes, this James is true.
no, wait.
He just did nail on the head.
The concept of the Matrix is inherently good because it poses this big
But so is
philosophical
the
question.
execution. I mean, the Matrix is it really coheres very well.
No, because
Doom doesn't.
I've gone
near
back
this
to it,
much.
and all these characters are wearing sunglasses indoors and full-length leather trench coats, and
Yeah,
they look
exactly.
like
Yeah.
idiots.
They look like idiots, but it's like the cyberpunk sort of gothic.
But it
aesthetic
actually
is
ha-
still, in terms of time and place, that works.
But adults don't choose to dress that way, and I think that what?
Doom's got a gothic aesthetic.
There's
Did it
nothing
first,
gothic
did it
about it
first.
at all.
What do you mean nothing gothic about Doom?
I think Quake was more
You're,
gothic
you're,
than Doom.
you're, yeah,
Explain
you're
to me-
misunderstanding what gothic
Doom
means.
is very gothic, isn't it?
What's gothic?
Give me one reason.
Like the hell and the demon.
It's
How
not
does
in
that
hell,
work?
it's on Mars.
Yeah, but no. He's like, I'm sure he goes to hell at some point, and there's
I think
all this
he's
like,
right at the end, yeah.
satanic imagery and things like
I
that.
think that counts as gothic.
That's not
You're
gothic.
thinking about a
No,
different type of
is that not
gothic.
No,
Gothic
you know,
No.
is
you know the start of
What's
Quake.
kind of the style of hell then?
You know the start of Quake with
Yeah.
all the gloomy castles and things. I
Yeah.
think that counts as gothic more.
Yeah, gothic is quite subdued, sort of quite Victorian.
Yeah,
Oh,
more creepy, spine chilling
hell.
stuff.
Like Gotham from Batman.
Yes.
Yes,
That's very gothic.
Yeah.
Which is where the name comes from. But no, if I go back to Matrix, I see things that I don't like about it because it's trying to be too stylish at the time and appeal to 15-year-olds.
It's a difficult comparison to make though, because films tend to appeal later on much more than games do. Games do not, at least as of now, age as well. It's because of technical advancements. It's harder to enjoy a game made in the 80s than it is a film made in the 80s.
Yeah, but you can still enjoy a really well-made old game.
Yeah.
There's a reason Pac-Man
Yes.
is so unbelievably popular. It's because it was extremely well made
Definitely.
for the
But
time.
there'll be some games like Doom that were well received in their day, but actually, if you go back, they're
Well,
difficult to get into.
No, my point is that you're going back to Doom and seeing the problems with it. I'm going back to Doom and I still think it's incredible.
See,
But
gone.
all right, but I'm going back to Matrix and thinking there's lots of problems with it, and you're going back to it. I still think the story's great. You're going back to it and thinking it's still, just as good.
Well, maybe you could use Final Fantasy VII as a good example. I mean, nowadays that game is dreadful.
It
but at
doesn't
the
look
time-
very good, no.
But at the time it was great. I mean, a mid-90s film is not going to be that aged at all. It's not going to be souls that's difficult to enjoy.
Well, that's because there's been a slower technological advancement.
Exactly, the medium is easier to enjoy.
Yeah.
It's kind of more timeless because it's just film on a screen. I mean, there's only so
Yeah.
much you can do with that.
Yeah, except like a lot of CGI obviously is.
Oh yeah, definitely CGI. heavy
Yeah.
films do
That's
age really badly.
yeah.
But games are entirely CGI, so maybe it's just the CGI that ages. Poorly.
Yeah, maybe.
So I sat down to play Doom, and put it on, and started playing it. 30 seconds in, I turned to Neil and I just said, "This is just Quake." And he
Yeah,
said, "Well, no, Quake is Doom." And I was like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So do I need to play this because I played Quake?" Because that is how similar it was. And I played it. I did the first 4 levels with the first episode, and then I just looked at Neil and I just said, I have no interest in playing this any further. Again, I know, I'm sorry.
No.
But it's another first-person shooter. It's identical to a game you've already made me play. And I didn't enjoy that game, and I didn't enjoy this one. I can appreciate, everything we've been saying about it. It was groundbreaking. It did a load of stuff for the first time extremely well. Still doesn't change the fact that I don't like first-person shooters.
No, that's
So, yeah.
valid point. And to try to explain that, what id Software, the people who make it, basically
Yeah.
do is they break a lot of technological ground, but hardly any game. Doom sort of broke ground, but after that they carried on making first-person shooters that were very gloomy.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that they came up with the tech for the first-person shooters. Something happened, and they realized we could apply this in a very specific way here. They made Doom, lucked out with the whole perspective change, and that got them the reputation. I mean, they're a fantastic development company in terms of software. The technology they're coming up with, the engines they make, they're amazing. I'm not going to dispute that. The games they make are based on the technology they have,
Basically tech
and
demos.
they're all including Doom. And I just think that they don't. I mean, id haven't made a good game. I don't think they're a worthwhile.
It's clear why I enjoy them because I've always talked about my love of explosions and guns, and
Yes.
there's a lot of that in these games.
That's true.
But like you say, it's very similar to Quake in style,
gameplay, in style,
all of
in
that. And that's
techniques, like it's graphically.
To be fair, that's
it's-
Quake's fault, not Doom's fault.
Yes, yeah. No, that is Quake's fault, not Doom's fault. It just happens that I played Quake before I played Doom,
and they haven't really changed like how the games
But it's
operate.
still-
If you see what I mean, like their
Yeah.
modus operandi. That
It's
means,
still a genre of game that I don't enjoy and
Yeah.
will never enjoy. So
and the only
yeah.
real difference between the two,
yeah.
like there are differences, but the only real one is that Quake was fully 3D, whereas Doom was pseudo 3D, so it made
Yeah.
it look like it was 3D. And so that was like a big technical leap for people like me who like look at that and be like, look at this, it's fully 3D. But if you're just playing it for the story, then obviously there's nothing.
Well, exactly. There's no story. There's
You can play
nothing
one and
there
then
to
realise
keep
that
you
none of them
involved.
matter.
Yeah, keep you interested, which you
They're
know is what I prefer in a game.
They're not interested in telling any kind of story, and I think you need at least a very basic story in mind when you make a game in order to have it appeal in a large
Just
way.
to capture an audience.
I mean,
somehow.
it doesn't even have to be a narrative that you put in place. It just has to, the player has to be telling some kind of story from what they're doing or what they're seeing. Just running through corridor after corridor, massacring everything, and then just moving on and on.
Yeah, it's boring.
It reminds me of actually in Grand Theft Auto 5, one of the main character's sons is seen playing a stereotypical game a lot of the time, and it has like a sort of big monsters running at him. He's got 2 machine guns, blood's everywhere and stuff, and it just irritates me that the sort of quintessential stereotype, the sort of the game that everyone imagines when they think of like teenage sort of neckbeard gamers is this Doom type sort of just running around shooting monsters, mindlessly. Yeah, violence, hell, 90s.
Well, but hang on a second, that game, what you're talking about is not in a film or a TV show, it's in a video game.
It's a game within a game.
Yeah, but
So Rockstar definitely know that that's not.
But that's something. That's
yeah,
something I saw.
they're playing up to the trope.
That's
Yeah.
something I saw today. But I mean, all of it. I mean, when you ask like a middle-aged sort of Fox News viewer what a video game is like, they're going to describe Doom.
But I think there are any in England you could ask because we don't have it here.
Yeah, Daily.
I don't know
Mail
what we have.
reader.
Yeah, yes.
They're going to describe Doom.
Yeah, but that's partly because it was so famous, you know.
Yeah, but it's also partly because it personifies all of the, I think, negative stereotypes of the industry. Really.
If you think about it, it's kind of weird that Doom came out in '93, and it's not until like the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years that first-person shooters have taken over as the prominent genre.
Oh yeah, we finally have the technology to.
It was. I mean, Call of
that's
Duty
20
kind of
years.
started it,
It's
really.
been 20 years since Doom was released, and it's only now 20 years. Jack, do you feel old?
I'm just thinking, what a load of old cobblers you lot. To be honest,
Anyway, but it's 20 years.
Absolute trite.
It's 20 years since
Absolute
Doom was
rubbish.
released,
Well, no.
and it's only now that the Call of Duty
Yeah.
Black Ops and everything are in the prominence they are the lead genre.
They finally become all like very cinematic games, and so they appeal to a wider audience, not just violence lovers, but also violence lovers.
Yes.
But you just made me think because you mentioned.
Appeal to violence. Oh, I could delete the last 20 minutes of this podcast.
What are you on about?
Absolute rubbish.
Personally, I
Appeals
think
to
this
violence.
conversation has been golden.
People who
I've
love
really enjoyed
violence.
this.
We've covered the point that apparently the Matrix was aimed at 15-year-olds when they made it, which was
It's
not
a 15.
True. It's not aimed at 15-year-olds.
The Matrix was aimed at like young adults.
We've had people like
Jack, 30-year-olds
Doom is
don't.
a bad game. How
Jack,
dare
30-year-olds
you all?
don't appreciate full leather trench coats and sunglasses in clubs. They think that's stupid. So 15-year-olds are the ones who appreciate it, and that's who it was aimed at. At least that part
I love
of it.
the snobbery of looking back at things that have passed and going, "Oh dear, that was so rubbish back then." Even back then,
That's the whole point.
entire premise
It's
of this
not-
show.
Doom.
Yeah, the point of the show is to go back and review old games.
Okay, can I make...
No. But I go back and enjoy. Like Doom is
Well,
fantastic.
give me a game, a decent game, and I'll enjoy it.
Doom has Doom. I would make if I was to make a top 10 list of the games that have aged best. Doom is number 1.
No, I agree with that. I think it's aged
It is
fantastically.
beautiful.
Are
It
you
is
kidding?
stunning. Everything about
Beautiful.
it. The
That's-
colours, the palette of it, the sounds, the smooth.
Okay, no. That's actually interesting
Oh,
because the color.
beautiful.
I noticed this after playing The Last of Us. I was thinking about what makes a game
Very
great.
bright.
because There's a very sort of.
No, it's not. It is not.
think
It's
about-
green, blue, red, yellow,
It's a
and
bright
grey.
When you think about
All of
what
those
makes
mixed
a
with
game
brown.
great, there are
Yeah.
lots of intangible elements you don't know. You're never going to consciously realize that actually make it awesome and great to play. And I think one of these is the color palette that's used. In The
Yeah.
Last of Us, it's quite a refreshing green, blue, yellow. A lot of nice
The Last
sort
of
of
Us. Oh,
natural
The
colors
Last of
used,
Us,
and
yeah.
that impacted me and sort of it made me want to play. Doom, brown, red, orange, black, blood, fire, brimstone.
Yeah.
The same thing
Green as
for the
well.
entire game. It's just
It is very
so
muted.
dull.
But like so was Quake. I mean, obviously, it doesn't have a big color palette on their computers.
Yeah,
so-
I-
No,
Do
but
they
Quake,
employ
Quake seemed a
artists?
bit more, I hate to say it, realistic, like colours-wise.
yeah.
Well,
than
that's what
Doom.
game makers do is they put a brown filter over everything. Because
Okay.
I've read like this article about this, and it mimics how you see colors in real life. If you put a brown filter on things, it makes it
Okay.
realistic for some reason. But I can't remember the details.
Something that I found amusing that Neil pointed out to me was that all the sprites, no matter what direction you look at them from, they look exactly the same
Oh, yeah.
from every single
It's 'cause
direction.
they turned the faces.
It's really
That's-
fun. It's like the I noticed it with the 3-pronged candelabra thingy
Yeah.
that's standing up near the sides of doorways. Looks at it straight on and it's looking at me. And
That's
then I
all
go to the
sprites.
side and it's still turned. Go to the other side and it's still turned.
That's what a sprite is. It's a 2D image that will always face the camera.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that you
only
don't
in
have
this
to-
sort of 3D.
But in this one, it was really obvious.
Yeah.
It's more noticeable. The most noticeable game I remember is in Tomb Raider because it's a third perspective. Like you can move the camera around and you look at like a skull and you'd be like, "That skull is moving me wherever I go."
and also Duke Nukem 3D. Mm-hmm. It had like
Duke Nukem
a
clone.
Well, yeah, sort of. It came a bit later. It was more technologically advanced build engine, but it also had enemies that turned to face you, and it was more obvious there, I think, because I think they were slightly cleverer about it in Doom. But that was the problem, is that they made the levels pseudo 3D, and they didn't really make the monsters pseudo 3D, but they probably couldn't have without putting a lot of effort.
They could have. I mean, they could have delayed it, but
and that's why Quake was so impressive, because it brought everything to 3D, to life. But no, I was going to say, the engine, because you mentioned Call of Duty, one of the things that this game has to be applauded for, I think, is its legacy, if not its actual gameplay, because it ties in with Call of Duty in that Doom led to Quake, and then the Quake 2 or the Quake 3 engine was used for Call of Duty, the first one, and they basically continued building on that.
And wasn't that actually used for Half-Life as well?
The Quake 2 engine was used for Half-Life.
Half-Life, yeah.
So, like, Doom, the engines put out by id basically had this huge pedigree across the
Exactly, but that's my point. The game, when you look at Call of Duty, it's not influenced by Doom. It's influenced by the first-person perspective and the engine legacy from there. It's the tech that they're using, not the design or any aesthetic.
I mean, even if you hate the games they make, you can still applaud
the technology.
The tech behind it.
I do. Yeah. No, I still recognise it for its achievements and what it did, even if it has led to COD blops. But I just don't enjoy it.
But no, speaking of graphics, I was playing it and thinking to myself, even though I should think this looks bad,
stunning.
I think it looks fantastic, and I think that's just nostalgia speaking.
It is.
I think
it is from
It's
nostalgia because they are just
I
crappy little 8-bit things.
It's the
They're
lighting.
awful.
The lighting is so
Yeah,
good.
the
way it's
atmosphere.
slightly shadowing.
There's no
It's so
lighting.
pretty.
There is. There's like
So
blinking
lovely.
lights that set the, and then you get into
The
rooms where it's
lighting
blinking
was-
at you.
Oh yeah, I went into a
Huge.
dark room
The way-
at one point.
The way there's
Yeah.
just slightly
The light went off.
shadowing on the walls, just slightly. It was really big at the time, so it was like, wow, this feels like a crafted environment. And
So it's this weird situation where I can see objectively that I shouldn't think it's good graphics, but subjectively, my memory and my
it's
nostalgia-
it's the fact
dissonance.
that
yeah, it just looks fantastic to me.
it runs so smoothly.
Well, of
it's
course
so
it runs
slick.
smoothly, Jack.
No, but
Your computer's
it's
20 years older than it needs to
by gaming standards, it's a fast game. It moves quickly.
Yeah. It's fluid.
It's
I think it's
quicker
fluid.
than Black Ops. Like,
Yeah,
you move
yeah. The
around.
loading.
it's hard to compare
The
the two.
loading times are a lot
Like things
shorter.
like if you obviously put the strafe keys to left and right, it's a quick game.
I think it's hard to
quick
compare the two though,
reaction
because they've
times.
obviously got very different physics.
I guess so, but then you got to remember, like game like so obviously it was console, but GoldenEye had to slow things down a lot so you could aim.
Yeah,
whereas
but
Doom
GoldenEye
was the
was
other
also
end. Doom's the other end where it's really fast, really slick. You like hold down the run button and you can go mental in this game.
Yeah.
Quake kind of borrowed that a lot. Well, Quake did that as well.
Yeah, Quake did that much better actually. Quake 3 online is great.
Bunny hopping.
I'm going to throw
Yeah.
in something
Yeah.
that also Doom is probably some of the best music and sound effects in a video
Yeah.
game ever made. But James is always
It's actually the music is definitely a strong point.
Oh,
It's,
really?
especially the main
yeah.
theme. It's really catchy.
Oh.
It's got a nice motif.
It's very heavy metal.
Yeah.
Rock. No, I'm not. I wouldn't criticize the music. It's above
And then
average.
I just love the little touches, like the guy's face at the bottom when you're dying and you get losing health. The whole thing of the health of 0 to 100%. That was Doom, well, Wolfenstein, but that was Doom that did it as well. Like the map. The fact that enemies will attack each other, like the AI will actually.
Oh, yeah,
if
yeah.
one enemy accidentally shoots another one, they'll start fighting. You can leave them alone. It just little things like that are just so good. Like secret rooms as well was kind of a new thing, and like it was shareware, the first real game to do that. Online multiplayer pretty much didn't exist before Doom. Like it invented it. It invented deathmatch. The term deathmatch came from Doom, and it was just. So much stuff, like people talk about now about DLC and downloadable packs as well. Doom did that years ago. They gave you away the first episode for free.
Yeah, but they do that. But at
They
the end
did.
of it, they chastise you for being a thief, and they criticize
Why
your
did you hate
character
that? Yeah,
because
you
that
hate
was
that.
it was
The quit
condescending.
messages. I love that.
You were
It's 'cause it's
doing-
in your face. all
They
the time.
think, oh yeah, we made this, we're giving it to you for free. No, I'm sorry, we're doing you a favour by playing your product.
No,
Like you need this
no,
exposure.
no.
You're some random
No,
devs
game
working in your
developers
mother's
don't
basement.
Game developers don't owe you nothing. That's-
Maybe established ones, but at the time, come on. I mean, they're
I
not.
would-
Like, why do you think they're giving it away for free?
because it's a very clever business model.
Because they need the exposure.
Farmville
exactly.
is still
They
doing
shouldn't
it
give it away for
today.
free and then criticise you for something you haven't done.
You got
It's-
so offended by the quit messages. And
I
like,
just
go back
think
to Windows, you baby. I think that's hilarious.
It's just not like.
hilarious.
I think I was just thinking that with all the categories we're discussing, I was trying to think of what Doom does badly, and I think well, first I was thinking of what it does well. I like the feel of Doom, the atmosphere you've already mentioned. I think it's fantastic. The music is great, and I feel like its only real problem, because the tech is great as well, is their story writing.
Yeah.
So maybe if id had hired a story writer and given you real reasons to be running around shooting zombies or demons.
Carmack, sorry to interrupt, but Carmack was quoted, and I wish I had the quote. Could you look? In fact, keep talking. I'll look it up. And I'll
Well, I was
Is
just
this
thinking
is this the
the
art
famous
one?
story comes second.
Oh
or
right,
something
oh
like
that.
I'll quickly
Yeah,
look
and
it up.
that yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a very action movie-esque approach. I just feel like if it had focused more on stories, then their games would have been a lot better received by people who like stories in games.
Everyone likes stories in games.
Yeah, they do now, but back then it wasn't really...
I still don't think I would enjoy it that much.
No, I mean, if you're not into shooting things with guns, then
It's not just story. It's not just at the end of a level having two characters talk and then doing the next level. It's stuff. It's just narrative within the game. There's no scope for. They couldn't. I mean, hiring those writers would have done very little because there's no room for story.
Yeah, you have to construct it around that whole concept.
It's shooting gallery after shooting gallery with movement interspersed. It's like.
I did like the fact that it was lots of nice, quick, short levels, though.
Yeah, except the ones that take you millions of years to find the yellow key.
Because that was one of the most frustrating exercises.
That's one thing I don't like about Doom is you can spend 10 minutes on a level that should take 1.5 minutes because you missed a key when you ran past.
And that's bad level design. I mean, actually, it shouldn't be that.
I agree with that. The levels don't make any sense. Like the layout, they're very complicated, and it seems they just intentionally so.
What I was saying earlier is Tom Hall was the guy who made the design document because he was getting sick of the fact that Carmack and Romero wouldn't write design documents. So he made it called Doom Bible, and he wrote this whole big story. When Carmack saw it, he remarked that story in a game is like story in a video game is like story in a porn movie. It's expected to be there, but it's not that important.
See, he's now comparing his own products to pornography. He obviously doesn't have his sights set that high, does he, poor chap? I mean, come on.
To be fair to him, he probably said that when he was like a 20-year-old.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, I'm sure now.
He's kind of.
And of course,
all he cared about was the in and outs of the inner workings of the game.
That's why Tom.
Hey-o!
That's like just talking about sex. But
sorry, children at St Mary's in Ireland.
To be fair to him,
turn it off, children. He's shocking. You turn it off. That's terrible.
Was that
meant to be Irish?
That is Irish. It's a lovely Irish accent.
Isn't that?
Oh, to be fair, Jack, that's absolutely appalling.
Top of the morning.
Can we stop speaking Irish accent to the Irish people who listen to our show? They're not going to appreciate it. No, I mean, to be fair, obviously they were very forward-looking in some aspects like tech, but they obviously weren't very forward-looking in things like story and games. But then again, at that time you didn't have to be, because things like Command & Keen were coming out and you were just shooting aliens with a gun.
Imagine if we had stories in games, like things like Super Mario Kart would never have existed.
Well, no, because you still...
How can we make Bowser and Mario?
Because racing games have never needed story.
No, again, there's this whole idea that a story is dialogue and cutscene. No, the Mario Kart games do have stories because each race overtaking someone, that's the point of drama, that's a climax in and of itself. Then you've got the whole rising tension near the end, and then it climaxes at the end.
Doom, you're stranded on you're fighting as monsters and you've got to get a gun and kill them all.
It's a baseline throughout. It's a baseline. I mean, you start,
it doesn't change.
You shoot until the end of the level and you stop. It's all at one level. There's no story there.
And bigger enemies.
That doesn't change anything, though.
I would argue that it's
Gun's
not that Mario Kart has a story, but it doesn't need a story.
It doesn't need
racing
one. It's
games
a racing
still
game.
don't need a story.
Well, no, but again, my point is just that stories aren't necessarily as strictly defined as people would have them.
I just think it's something like the racing genre. You kind of provide your own impetus.
Yeah, I mean, you could. In this case, I think you could replace the word story with pacing because they suit the same purpose, right?
Yeah, like we were discussing Gran Turismo that had a progression system, and that made you want to carry on playing.
Exactly.
And that's what if you're right, if the gameplay is the same in every level, like in Doom,
it's very similar throughout.
Then you basically need a reason to carry on going. And most people, I think, for most people who played it at the time, that was just the violence because it was very satisfying.
Yeah.
But in a racing game, it's, like we said, for driving fans.
The one thing I will admit Doom has lost over all the years since I last played it was back in the day, and I guess this is part of technical limitations and just expectation changing. Doom was terrifying when I first played it.
Oh, really?
Not just because I was a child. I remember people talking about how scary Doom was. And it was a really scary game. Like the way that monsters make that noise when you were nearby but you hadn't seen them yet. And there were times like even when I
thought something was wrong. I thought something had broken in the house with that noise went off. I didn't know what it was.
Playing with like you guys when like I'd walk around a corner and an imp would be in my face. I'd go, "Well, bloody hell!" I wasn't scared, but I would jump a bit. And it was always a thing. And there was little things that Doom did that things didn't happen. So like when the screen went red when you taken damage, which today happens every first-person shooter
red
does
jam.
the red jam thing. That was Doom. Doom did that first. Like I remember you shot me in the face with a shotgun, and I went down to like 10 health, lost like 90, and the red thing stayed on screen for like a second.
Oh yeah, it did.
I was like, what the hell was that? That was Doom, and it was it was terrifying. It was really jumpy. But now that's lost.
Yeah, obviously that's
not
because
scary.
At the time Doom was the best looking game you could play, and it is a shame that one of the things they lost with older games, like you say, is atmosphere, because you can go back and play some of the old horror games, and they won't be as... Like, if you're playing, say, the first Silent Hill, it's so blocky, like the graphics and everything, that you'd probably lose a lot of the atmosphere.
I think the first Silent Hill is actually surprisingly atmospheric still, though. I think
Yeah?
that one in particular, because it's got the...
But not as
always-
atmospheric as it was when it first came out.
True, but definitely, yeah. I just think because it's based around the mist, like obscuring...
To be honest, I haven't played it, so I shouldn't have said anything
right.
about something. I don't play horror games, so the first like Hexen or something was scarier than Doom is. Because it was meant to be like this horror atmosphere, and so I think that sort of thing loses its atmosphere because suddenly the graphics are kind of a joke. You don't get immersed as easily because it's not as realistic.
I struggle to get immersed in any game. Like, I remember I remember Tomb Raider 2 being terrified. There was a level where you start under the sea and there's sharks swimming around, and I was terrified. And now I can't remember the last time I was scared in a game.
No, you have to play like really extreme games like Amnesia now.
Like Amnesia, yeah. I guess
Yeah.
so. But yeah. We should probably wrap this up a little bit and go into some of the trivia part of the show. Oh,
Do it properly.
Every week, trivia.
Yes.
So I was going to talk about the amount of ports that Doom have done, and just today there's been announced that someone has ported Doom to a piano.
Oh, really?
There's a screen,
cool.
and you play Doom by playing the keys. And what they've done is they purposely made things like left, up, down, and right stuff, and like they play. Basically, you would know this better than me, but they placed it around the keyboard so that it does actually play music as you're trying to play the game. But it'll be really weird, like music, but at least it's making a rhythm somehow.
Yeah.
But
cool.
Yeah,
James suddenly interested in Doom again.
Yeah, hey, I
It
love this
was,
game. 10 out of 10. Game of the year all years.
It was displayed this week at the Virgin Media Game Space. The creator is called David Hayward, who he said it's a whole load of wiring to make it work.
But
yeah.
you've got to buy the piano peripheral, and that's how they get you, because those things cost hundreds of pounds.
Yeah, it's all those peripherals.
You have to have a Steinway to get the right.
But I do love that Doom has now become the game that whenever a new piece of technology comes out, I know we say about games that get ported to a lot of things like Worms and stuff, but Doom is always the first thing.
Well, it was put on the SNES, right? Doom was on the
Yeah,
SNES.
it was on the SNES. Neil said it was terrible.
Yeah, they couldn't do as much with it.
I got
right?
really excited about the N64 version because it was all new monsters and it was rubbish. But yeah, it's
I
been
actually
everything.
played it on Neil's Xbox 360
They
for
managed,
this.
managed to get on Amiga,
That was good.
ZX Spectrum 128. Someone did a Half-Life 2 mod for it, so they took Half-Life 2 and downported
that's
it to
cool.
play Doom. It's been on the TI N-Spire series calculators. I had it on lots of mobile phones. I had it on my Nokia 6600 about like 8 years ago. Acorn operating system. Do you remember Acorn?
Yeah.
Oh, good memories. But yeah, it's also been on 360, Doom, Doom 95, PlayStation, Saturn, Nintendo DS, iPod. You can play it using the scroll wheel on an iPod.
No.
Crazy.
Well, id themselves ported it to the iPhone. Or was that Quake?
Maybe it might have been.
No, I think it was Doom. Because they put a lot of effort into it, because Carmack enjoys iOS programming, I guess.
This is how technology advanced id are. Doom version 1.1, you could do that. You could actually have the ability to run 3 monitors at once, giving you a 270-degree field of vision if you wanted to.
See, they did a lot that didn't really get picked up until 15 years later.
The nightmare skill level was added as a joke in response to comments that the game was too easy.
Oh.
Which I thought was quite cool.
That's been in
that
every...
was brilliant at the time when it was like, normally it was easy, medium, hard. I had Hurt Me Plenty, Who's I'm Your Daddy, or is that a different game you're
Yeah.
thinking of?
No, I think it was
Hurt
something
Me
like that.
Plenty, Ultra Violence.
I'm
Nightmare.
Too Young
Even
to
the,
Die.
Even the even the it's so hardcore. Super Nintendo version of the game was the first console video game to receive a mature rating from the ESRB.
What does the ESRB stand for?
Entertainment Software Rating Board.
Software Rating
Ah,
Board,
okay.
yeah. And the American
Basically the
one is
BBFC, but... for
Oh,
games.
for games, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Although it's not as well... they don't really listen to them.
The initial,
It's
the
sort of
initial idea that it wanted to do, they were going to do a game based on aliens, and they were actually negotiating with 20th Century Fox to do it, and they pulled out at the last minute. Not last
See,
minute.
I can
but they pulled
imagine
out.
the Aliens franchise in this atmosphere. Because the blinking lights and the gloominess stuff, that would work, I think, with...
Yeah, totally.
Reddit.com, fascinatingly enough, was founded after the Reddit co-creator Alex O read David Kushner's Masters of Doom book, and he found it so interesting that he gave it to his friend, who I wish to wrote his name, but also co-founded Reddit, and they said, like, these guys made a company, read that book, was so interested by it about 7 years ago, they decided to make Reddit.
Huh.
They said, let's make our own company. These guys can do it. We can do it.
And what
he's
is...
actually credited that. He's actually gone on LinkedIn and on the Reddit blog and said, we made Reddit after
Well,
reading
what's-
this book.
What's Reddit?
Reddit's some website apparently. And I did have some trivia about the game's been related a lot to Columbine High School massacre in 1990.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, it single-handedly caused the massacre.
Yeah.
it was
Those people were very well-adjusted young men before that. They were getting their masters,
But,
and then
they started wearing
suddenly
trench coats.
they played Doom,
I did a little.
watched The Matrix, and just...
I know that I was reading in Master Doom that it did get. They started getting like letter bombs and everything like that after Doom.
It caused a lot of controversy.
They also, but then Doom was fascinating because they sent offal in boxes round with Doom branded onto pieces of meat to vegan societies at the time for marketing and
Really?
advertising.
That's bizarre.
Games advertising and marketing in the 90s was shockingly bad.
Well, they
to the point where
they probably didn't want to hire any
Even-
actual marketers.
That kind of viral marketing, though, is what they're all trying to do now.
But games.
It's the shock value.
Some of the
Yeah.
stuff that games have done, which you think, did they mean to do? Like, I remember when they did God of War, they had a banquet at the opening, and they
Oh,
got
yeah,
a
they
real
killed the-
lamb, and
yeah.
they'd cut its stomach open, and people were eating like the aperitifs in front of this dead lamb on a table. And it's like, oh, and then
Is that true?
Yeah, that was
It's
good.
probably worth looking into because I can't imagine they'd
No,
allow
yeah,
that.
I remember
now.
that happening.
Like Grand Theft Auto, they
Oh, you were there.
Yeah.
Grand
That was the lamb.
Theft Auto, they paid. Is it Max Clifford, the publicist? The EMA paid him to put spin in the Daily Mail of how violent the game was and how shocking it was and things like that. Just ridiculous. But yeah, games advertising terrible at times. And that was all my trivia for Doom. I mean, there's loads of little bits. Like the Doom protagonist appears in Tony Hawk's 3. And he appeared in Duke Nukem as well.
Also,
he
there's a film, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Doom film.
there's a first-person section as well.
Which has like an 8-minute first-person section,
God.
starring Dwayne Johnson,
The Rock.
The Rock. One of the doctors in the game is called Dr. Carmack.
Well, it's
In the film,
starring.
sorry.
Starring makes it sound like he was the main character, but he wasn't. It was that.
It's not that bad a film. It's bad,
Really?
but as video game
It's-
films go, it's in the middle.
It's more based on Doom 3 than Doom 1.
Yeah.
It's not.
Okay.
But yeah, that's all I have for trivia on the game. So trivia closed, and then we go into the retrograde part of the show. And
Excellent.
I chose this
Axe.
Axe.
because the game is so satanic and offensive and everything like that. I thought let's grade this game as if it was a religion.
Okay, no.
No.
Why not?
That's
Why
too
not?
offensive.
Because we have to rate
That's
religions.
quite-
Yeah.
Is that not doing that? Oh,
No.
Let's bring up politics
Jack.
at the same time.
Jack, personally,
Oh.
I would be fine with it, but these guys obviously have an issue, so let's just.
And it's not
Alright.
a religious game at all. I
Let's
mean,
just change it
satanic
for
maybe,
these
but that's not really a religion.
That's specialist to Christianity.
All right, let's rate it as I haven't got any. A fizzy drink. Then there you
Okay.
Right.
All right, not offensive.
Okay, I've got one. Tonic water, because it's really like bitter and horrible, and like old people seem to like it, but I just can't get into it. It doesn't taste good.
Old people seem to like. Well, I'll just go straight for the obvious. It's Coca-Cola because it's the best.
Except for Pepsi.
And
Pepsi Max is
and
much
Yeah.
people
better.
always
Pepsi Max is
go,
much
"Oh,
better."
whenever you go to a bar and they say, "Can I have a Coke?" They go, "Was Pepsi all right?"
No, they
They're
have to
basically-
because it's marketing.
They're basically saying, "Is Duke Nukem all right?" And I'm going, "No, I wanted Doom. Pour me a nice glass of Doom."
Put Doom in a glass.
Yeah, not Diet Doom,
They just
which
come
is
back from the toilet.
Quake,
Full glass.
something like that. But yeah, or not New Doom, which is Call of Duty. Doom. I want Coca-Cola Doom. There you go.
I would grade it. Does it have to be a fizzy drink? Can it be a drink?
Let's just say a drink.
Okay, I would grade it as water. It's
Fundamental.
You're 70,
fundamental.
70%
Yeah.
of your body is made of doom.
Sounds about right.
And the Earth.
I
swim in
the Earth
Doom.
is covered in
You
Doom.
know, it's just it's there. It's it's familiar, but it's bland. It's not that interesting.
And you're totally comfortable flushing it down the toilet every day.
Yeah, and yeah. That was
I'm-
it.
I'm going to go for Coca-Cola as well, but not
Well, you can't, because I
Coca-Cola.
already chose it.
That's
But not
totally
Coca-Cola
against the rules.
of 2013. Coca-Cola, the original
With the
Coca-Cola.
cocaine.
Well, that wasn't actually intentional, it turns out.
Oh, really?
They used coca leaves to flavour it,
Oh.
which is what cocaine's taken from.
Yeah.
But that was just for flavouring. He didn't intend to put cocaine in it.
But there were other
Drug
there were
grade.
other drugs in it, weren't there? There was like some kind of opiate.
I don't think so. I think it was just
oh, really?
cocaine.
Maybe there was some.
Yeah, it was just cocaine.
But they still use coca leaves to flavour it, but they have the leaves. This is cola grade now. They have the leaves processed by a special company, and they're one of the only companies, Coca-Cola, that's allowed to import coca leaves just to flavour the things. And then they use that extracted cocaine, whatever it's called, before it becomes cocaine, to make cocaine-based painkillers. So they actually give it to the medical
Oh, okay.
companies to make painkillers. Anyway, the original Coca-Cola, because it's like you say, it's kind of fundamental.
Yep.
But I can see that if someone tried the original Coca-Cola now and compared it to the new Coca-Cola, they wouldn't really appreciate it very much. But if they were there from the start, drinking from the fountain,
Yeah.
they'd probably be like, "This is the best Coca-Cola ever," and everything else is just copying it. Because they started the popularity of fizzy drinks, or whatever. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. I wasn't alive.
They didn't.
No, probably not. They put bubbles in water. No, that was Wolfenstein. But Coca-Cola perfected it and made it huge.
Didn't Fanta come from Nazi Germany?
Yeah.
Well, it's a complicated story, but yes.
Yeah, something like that. It was like
Coca-Cola weren't, because of trading laws during the war, they weren't allowed to trade Coca-Cola in Germany.
They couldn't
Obviously,
get
so
the.
they had to use local.
they couldn't get the products,
ingredients.
so they used what they had available and invented Fanta.
Sugar and
Interesting.
orange
To sell to Germans.
Sugars and orange.
So yeah, the original Coca-Cola, because it's that fundamental, but it's not very applicable now. It's not immediately appealing.
Cool. Well, that wraps that up. Yeah. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy the show, you can visit our website at retrogradeshow.com. Show notes for the show can be found at psycon.net/R34, which is the episode name, where you find links to all our Twitter feeds and a link to Julian Hill's awesome article on Doom as well. And lastly, if you enjoyed the show, please take the time to write a review for us on iTunes. Every review of us gets a limited edition, super rare, only a few left badge. Only a few left, getting quick.
Oh, and don't forget that you can enter our competition by retweeting our competition tweet when it goes up.
Yeah.
A few days' time.
At Retrograde Show. And
Yeah,
like
on
us on
Twitter.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh,
like us on
Facebook
Facebook.
page. Yeah, sorry, I forgot
we've
Facebook page.
got a very active Facebook page.
Yeah, it's very active.
If you don't use Twitter, you can get all the updates there.
That's true. We're going to be back in 2 weeks where we'll be playing, I've had to sing the theme tune, DuckTales, woo! Which was chosen, I'll be doing that all next week, just to look forward to. Chosen by Anthony. Anthony, why did you choose DuckTales, woo!
I like to imagine that every time you're doing that, like an attractive woman walks past the window. You're not doing it because of DuckTales. It's just coincidence. It's like, hey, that sounds like the DuckTales one. I chose it because it is a very well-liked game. They just made a remake, actually.
On the NES,
remastering.
right?
Yeah, on the NES. And we haven't done a lot of NES games.
That's
But
true.
it's one of these very fundamental platformers that always come up. So I'm again using this show as an excuse for us all to play a game we probably haven't played before.
I never played it, but I was always
I haven't
interested.
played it.
And I mean, out of all of the very influential two-dimensional retro platformers we've done, this is surely the only one to star ducks. So
Yeah, I mean, we have one that started dogs in Goof Troop. Well, that wasn't a
yeah,
platform.
but they're a
that
totally
was-
different animal, so it's
Yeah,
it's a different.
This is ducks this time. Duckgrade.
Ducking hell.
Oh, don't have to bleep that one.
No.
So we're
I'm going
I
to be
chose
ducking
that-
all over the shop next
I
week.
chose that because I wanted to do more NES games and because
You love ducks.
no, it seems
are
to,
pretty cool.
the game
Woo!
seems to be well loved. So we're going to be feeding some bread to those ducks.
Oh, that'll be
Order.
our tag for the next episode. Cool.
Doesn't
okay.
that swell up in their stomachs and kill them or something?
Bread.
No, that's rice.
No, it's rice.
Oh.
And it's
Well,
pigeons.
I've heard you're not meant to feed bread to ducks apparently, but I don't know.
Well, not yeasty bread.
yeah, maybe it
How do you know how yeasty your bread is beforehand?
Colour.
says on the label. This bread is very yeasty. Don't
Duck
feed,
safe.
and it's got a duck
If you
and
eat
a
a bit
line.
and you get thrush, then you know it's yeasty.
Okay, right.
It's got like the Ghostbusters logo, but with a duck in the middle, not a ghost.
Cool, okay.
It's a line through it, like
Like
no
how
ducks.
alcohol has a picture of a
It's a duck.
pregnant woman with
Yeah,
a...
for duck would eat
no
shredded
sign.
duck.
Do you yeast eat for pregnant ones?
That'd
Yeah.
be a bit weird, wouldn't it? If you were
I'd
at the
eat
pond.
human if you put it in a
If you
stew
were
and didn't
feeding
tell
the
me.
pond, if you were at the pond feeding a duck, that'd be a bit weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be cannibalism. That's odd.
That's
Yeah.
not nice. But you would
Anthony,
eat it,
if
wouldn't
you ate a
Some
human
animals
skewer,
are like
then you'd
that,
get a
though.
taste for it, and you'd only be able to enjoy human meat
No, but I wouldn't know what it was.
or raccoon.
I would have started eating other
Apparently human flesh is like pork, but
Yeah.
a bit sweeter.
But I wouldn't know what it was in the stew, so I wouldn't get a taste for it and then start eating humans because I wouldn't. But like,
then
this
what
pork
if
is
someone,
really good.
What if someone told you afterwards?
Oh, then I become a cannibal.
Yeah.
But there's islands where they do that in the middle of the Pacific, so I just go off and
But then you risk being eaten yourself.
I wouldn't be
so-
able to do the podcast.
No,
anymore,
he's
but-
quite quick.
Yeah, that's true, because it's
Would
all
you,
capture the flag.
Yeah, we'll catch the.
Would you eat
flag.
me if we're in a
No, you're too
if we're in-
stringy.
If we're in a plane crash,
Why would you follow me to the island just to see if I would eat you? That's just stay away.
we're
Jack.
in a plane crash and we're like you're
Too
I'm
stringy,
dead.
Jack, too stringy.
Jack,
Not enough meat on
I
you.
would eat you.
Oh, if you were dead, yeah, obviously. If you were alive, and we'd have
Obviously.
to decide.
This has gone to a weird place, guys.
You suck my face as well, knowing you.
Cannibal grade.
I'd probably eat the arms. I'd feel least
No,
weird
you
about
don't.
eating the arms.
No, you go for the rump.
You don't.
My rump is packing. I tell you that.
You don't eat the face. That's the part
Jack's
you cut
got
off,
junk in that trunk.
and you wear it on your own face so you have a friend. You use a shard of mirror to look at him and be like, "Hello, Jack. It's good to see you." And you can take it off and respond in your own voice. But anyway,
Follow us on Twitter for more cannibal fun.
God, that was a good last couple of minutes. Yes, that's a goodbye from me, Jack Marshall. A goodbye from Anthony Hobday.
goodbye.
Goodbye from Zan Fisher. And a
Bye.
goodbye from James McFadden.
If you haven't been watching Breaking Bad at this point, you have literally no reason to be alive anymore. Also follow us, because we do a podcast that's pretty good.
It's a bit grim,
Sod Breaking
but it
Bad.
is Doom. So
Yeah, hey.
Breaking Bad's poor man's The Wire.